What's going on, everybody? I am here to do a reaction style video of this commentary that was given by Skip Bayless. And before I get into it, let me give a shout out to Kid Gravity because he's the reason why I even found out about this. So Skip Bayless on his show recently, and by the way, I'm recording this on July 4th. And by the time you'll see it, it'll probably be a couple weeks later, where he is discussing his feelings after watching the Sinners movie. Now, the title that he put up on his Twitter page, it was saying how he was bludgeoned by white guilt after watching Sinners. And already I was like, okay, I know what direction he's headed with this, because it's the same thing we heard from other PC individuals. This is even what we heard from the melanated co-colonizing cohorts such as Jason Whitlock. So I already kind of figured this is where he was headed. And then I think this was part of a longer video that he did, or a stream or whatever, but he just cut it up into pieces because the video that he did was like over an hour long. And this right here is only 7 minutes of it. And it was actually towards the end of his commentary. It's probably the last thing he talked about. But I'm glad he cut it up because that made it easier for me to just download this instead of having to download the whole hour and then having to cut that up. So he is about to discuss he says why he hate loved the movie. Like, I think that was the title or something along those lines. And I can already tell just by the title alone where he's headed with this. Now, let me just also say this. This is my first official time watching this video, so this will be just as fresh to me as it will be to you. So let's see what Skip is about to talk about.
Okay, allow me a couple of minutes to talk about Ryan Coogler's movie Sinners.
Now, mind you, this video, again, he just recently made this maybe a couple days ago. The movie Sinners has been out since April, and that means he's just now seeing it about 2 months or over 2 months after the movie has come out. And I believe it just got released on streaming on Max today. As a matter of fact, I think today is the first official day on streaming, but it also had a digital release about a month ago. So that's probably how we saw it.
I missed it in the theater because of the NBA playoffs, which are the most grueling stretch of the year for me. So over the weekend, I watched Sinners in 2 sittings, or maybe I should say 2 runnings, while I was on the treadmill.
So you must have been on the treadmill for quite some time. You mean to tell me you was on that treadmill for over 2 hours? You said in 2 sittings, so he must have watched half at one point and then half at another time instead of just sitting and watching it all the way through. First of all, I don't even think I would watch this movie while exercising because I need to pay attention. Like, this is one of those movies you have to look at and pay attention.
I hope I can explain this correctly to you, but
now look at this. Look at what it says right there at the caption. White guilt while watching Sinners. When Sinners ended, I felt battered, bludgeoned and battered by white guilt. Now, understand, whenever PC says something about white guilt, they're almost trying to, not even almost, they are trying to put themselves into a victim mode to try to make it seem like, yeah, I understand what my clan sisters did to you, but I mean, what does that have to do with me? Why do you have to make something that feels like it's targeting me? And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm only using this because this is a talking point that they like to use. Isn't Skip Bayless part of them folks? Don't they have a quote unquote beef with each other? Now, again, I'm just using this as if they're talking about it because you know they like to separate the two. I already saw it when I was looking at some of the comments. But really, when they do the white guilt thing, this is them trying to throw themselves in the victimhood to try to make Black people especially feel like we've done something wrong to them.
I loved and I hated Sinners. I loved it because when Ryan Coogler applies his genius to a film, I just won't have any choice but to love it. He is that gifted. Fruitvale, Creed, the Black Panthers, and now Sinners. Gifted. I love Sinners because if I get a double shot of Michael B. Jordan unleashing his raw screen power, and Michael B. plays 2 twin brothers, I'm going to double love it.
Understand what Skip is doing right now. He already knows where he's headed with this, but he has to soften the blow before he goes in for the nuke bomb. That's literally what he's doing right now. He has to soften the audience first by giving his so-called praise of the film before he goes into what he really wants to talk about, which is that caption at the bottom. Because notice he brought that caption up before he even gets to that part. Like, if he was going to do that, which he's going to do, he should have left that part out and then brought the caption up, but he didn't do that. He wants you to, it's almost like he wants you to double focus. Focus on what he's saying right here, but also focus on that caption at the bottom because it's glaring.
I love Sinners because of the brilliant melding of two very different genres, the plight of black people in 1932 Mississippi and vampires? Wait, vampires river dancing? Trust me, Ryan Coogler's screenplay just, so to speak, sucks you in. Not once did I think this is silly or this is hokey. Didn't have time to doubt it because Sinners just grabs you by the throat that will probably get bitten. And how can you not love anything that has Delroy Lindo in it?
First off, before I go any further with this, why does it sound like he's reading off of a prompter? Like, it almost sounds to me like nothing that he is saying is coming straight from the heart. It just sounds really robotic. Now, here's the thing. I have no problem if you are reading off of a script or whatever, because I've said recently that now I'm starting to go into writing treatments, and I do that so I can make sure I have everything correct and it doesn't make me say a bunch of ums and okay and well and a whole bunch of stuff so like that. But it comes off like I'm just saying it, like not like I'm reciting it. To me, from where I'm listening to him and how he's talking and the cadence in his voice, if you listen to how he is when he was on like years ago, like with Shannon Sharp and all of them, when he was talking, none of it sounded scripted. It just sounded like, like coming fresh off the dome. With this, it sounds like he's actually reading or reciting words off of a screen or off of a prompter while trying to make it sound like he isn't.
He steals, 6 or 8 scenes in Sinners with that wise, cool patter of his. And I get to see Michael B. Jordan blow away, 40 or 50 Klansmen, including the big, fat, tobacco-spitting leader. And then, just when I thought Sinners was over, I got a bonus scene, a postscript 60 years later in Chicago, featuring the great Buddy Guy, the real Buddy Guy, that guy, who's visited in the club by vampire Michael B. and vampire Haley Steinfeld. Huh? Knocked me right off my chair, or in this case, off the treadmill. What?
Oh, what many people wouldn't have paid to see money if that actually did happen.
Just breakthrough filmmaking. Thank you, Mr. Coogler. Yet, I must admit, when Sinners ended, I felt...
Here comes the BS.
Battered. Bludgeoned and battered by white guilt.
What? Wait. I didn't mean to laugh. But like I said, this is my first time watching this. That's why this is funny to me. He says, by the end of Sinners, I felt battered. I felt battered and bludgeoned by white guilt. Why does it feel like they should turn on the soft, sad music? And this almost sounds like an ad or an infomercial for a woman who has been going through DV, or some woman that has been in or dealing with some level of abuse, or just anyone for that matter. It doesn't even have to be a woman. That's what this sounds like right here. But battered and bludgeoned by white guilt. And it's just not only him just saying that, it's how he's saying it. It's almost like he's trying to make it come off as if it's sad, or we're supposed to feel sorry or feel bad for, or take pity on, or whatever the case is.
Look, Sinners has no use for white people, nor should it. The prevailing metaphor, of course, is that evil, devious white people tricked black people and sucked their blood and turned them into something they weren't meant to be.
That's what you got from this, Skip? See, that's probably why you shouldn't have watched it while on the treadmill. I'm just being completely sarcastic when I say that, because I have a feeling that even if he wasn't on the treadmill watching this, he still would have came to the same conclusion.
The evil white vampires wrecked the juke joint life that the black people were building thanks to the money provided by the twin brothers who had gone up against the Chicago mob and lived to tell about it and returned home.
If Skip was really paying attention, he would know that Remick, the main vampire, told them that the clan tricked them at the beginning of the movie. The guy that got, I think his name was Hogwood, and told them that whether he and the other vampires came there that night or not, it was a setup and they were going to come and assassinate y'all tomorrow, which they did come to do. But by that time, no one was there because all the people had died after Remick had turned into ash, and so did they because of the hive mind thing, and they basically all burned. They were all gone, but they came there to take them out. So whether or not Remick came back for them or not, they were going to come and take them out regardless. He literally said it in the movie that this whole thing was based on a lie, because the person that he bit, that when he went to the house, and those two, that woman and her husband, I think their names were Joan and Bert, and you saw the clan hood sitting there. Bert was the nephew to Hogwood. That was a major plot twist in the movie right there in that moment. But I can tell that Skip Bayless was not paying attention to that. And it shows based on what he just said right here.
So, who's the first member of the black community to defy and betray the brothers? Well, it's the woman played by Mrs. Josh Allen Haley Steinfeld, who appears in Sinners to be, I think, biracial. She obviously has some white blood, which obviously prevails and leads her and in turn the black community to ruin. So if you followed my career at all,
and the thing is, he said that she was a traitor, so to speak. I really don't see her necessarily so much as a traitor, because again, if you watch the movie, she went out there because she told Stack they would probably receive her more than them because she is white passing. And she says, I can go out there and see what they're all about. And she went out there to get the coins and everything. But of course, she got lured in. But she was going to go back and show them what happened, because she pointed the gun at him like she was going to shoot him. But I wish she wouldn't have turned her back. But then Remick took up to the sky and came down. Well, of course, we don't see it because it happens off screen, and he ended up biting her. She didn't know what they were. None of them knew who they were up until later, when the character Annie tells them what they are after she threw that garlic water or that garlic juice on to Stack, and he started to burn, and that's when she revealed it. And that wasn't until after, like, maybe 15 or 20 minutes after that. So again, Skip doesn't know what he's talking about, but I'm not surprised.
You probably know I've fought with all my might against racial injustice in this country.
Oh, please. Skip, you are one to talk. There are very questionable anti-blackness statements and actions on your part, especially when Shannon Sharp used to be on that show. And not even just with Shannon Sharp, but even how you talk down and talk about these black players. As a matter of fact, the video where this comes from, like, remember I told you it was a much longer video? The very first topic he's talking about in that video is LeBron James. And he's talking about LeBron James for a long time. Mind you, the commentary, the entire full-length video that this clip comes from, is a little over an hour long, and he probably talks about LeBron James for about 25 minutes. I can only imagine what he had to say. So for Skip to sit up there and say, talking about he fights against racial injustice in this country, is a load of crap.
I've told this story before, so I'll be brief here. I was so blessed to have been mostly raised by a black woman who was...
Oh God. Was this black woman your maid? Is this what he about to tell us? Is he about to tell us that this black woman was his maid, or as they call it back in the day, his mammy?
Far more of a mother and a teacher to me than my mother was, my real mother. Everything I know about right and wrong, I learned from Katie Bell Henderson, who worked for my grandmother, who traveled.
There you go. That's what I thought. So this Katie Bell Anderson that he's talking about, he said, who worked for my grandmother, which I'm assuming is a white woman. That was her maid. I can. What in the help, as in the movie, what in the help is going on here? Really? I didn't know it was going to divulge into this, but here we are.
Traveled for her work. And I'm sure some black people say, oh, it's the help.
There it is. What did I tell you? Oh, Skip, man, you have completely lost the plot. But let's continue.
But trust me, there was no plantation mentality operating at my grandmother's.
She still worked for your grandmother, though. She was a nanny. She was the maid. She was the help, as I already established, and as you basically said, because the thing is, he said he's told the story so many times, so that means other people have told him. So this woman that partially raised you, or mainly raised you because apparently your mother wasn't a good mother, based on what he's saying, the help raised you. Which means, it also makes you wonder, how long has this woman been working in the family? Because a lot of the times they pass them down like family heirlooms. When one of them like if the grandmother passed, she passes on the help to another person in the family. And that means that she was probably passed on to your mother, or maybe y'all were sharing Katie. I don't know. But she helped raise you. She was the help, Skip. She wasn't your friend. She wasn't even a mother figure to you. She worked for your grandmother. And that's all there is to it.
Katie Bell ran that household with an iron fist, unquestioned iron fist. My home was broken, so I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's. I grew up in Oklahoma City. Katie Bell grew up in rural Alabama, though, like Michael B's character, she had spent many years working in Chicago, where her son and grandkids lived. My soul aches when I have to watch what white people did to black people in the Deep South in the 1930s and any other form of that.
Oh, spare us, Skip. I know again, why are you telling us this? Like, why couldn't he just say what he said at the beginning when it came to the review of this movie, if that's what you want to call it? Why did you have to go into this narrative? Why? Like, who do you think is benefiting from this? Who are you telling this story to? Because I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you're telling the story to black people, they don't care. Most black people don't care. But you know what? Let me speak for myself. I don't care. Because the thing of the fact of the matter is, Skip, you still nest to this day in your privilege, and you can't sit up here and say that you don't. Anybody who is anybody with a set of eyes and a good set of ears can hear and see that by your behavior over the years in the media, in sports media.
I know.
And then I would like, you know what I really would like to know? What, I don't know if his nanny is still alive or not, but I wish I could hear stories from her to know what it was like to help raise him or work for his grandmother. I wonder what that was like, because he could probably be telling the glamorous part of it, but of course there's always more beneath the surface. And forgive me, y'all, I ended up skipping back a little bit, so let me see if I can get back to the right spot.
I've told this story before, so I'll be who traveled for her work. And I'm sure some black people say, oh, it's the help. But trust me, there was no plantation mentality operating at my grandmother's. Katie Bell ran that household with an iron fist, unquestioned iron fist. My home was broken, so I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's. I grew up in Oklahoma City. Katie Bell grew up in rural Alabama, though, like Michael B's character, she had spent many years working in Chicago, where her son and grandkids lived. My soul aches when I have to watch what white people did to black people in the Deep South in the 1930s and any other form of that.
And since I had to run it back a little bit because I missed and hit the meter instead of the pause button or the play button. If Skip feels this bad about what happened, he has all this so-called white guilt. We need to ask Skip what is his take on reparations for foundational Black Americans, which I'm assuming his help or his nanny was. Do you think that she should get repair or her descendants? Because that'll be the real determining factor right there. I can almost assume what Skip was going to say. I wonder if someone maybe in the comments can answer that question for me. Has Skip ever been asked the question about reparations? And if so, what was his response?
I know all about it. I don't know how to fix it. Obviously, I can't fix it. And after a while,
And he doesn't want to fix it.
it's just hard to watch. For me, it's hard to watch. I didn't participate in it. I didn't contribute to it.
You want to know what's so interesting too is that he's watched this movie right here, Sinners, and we see what it is. This is by far not even near a slave narrative, but think of all the movies that have come out over the years that did have the slave narrative, and there have been several. It's been a while since one has come out, but I'm fine with that. Skip never, and to my knowledge, expressed this level of what he considers to be guilt when it came to like movies such as Roots or 12 Years a Slave or any other movie that had a slave narrative behind it. But this is the one right here where you want to display your so-called being battered and bludgeoned by white guilt. Go, Skip, if you weren't already sitting down somewhere, that's exactly where I would tell you to go sit down somewhere.
Yet I still feel so deeply guilty about it because of the color of my skin.
Skip, stop making this about you. This is not even hardly about you. See what I mean? And that's another thing I don't like when they use that narrative of white guilt. They find a way to make it about them when the story in the narrative isn't about them. They still have to center themselves. Even if they're the perpetrator or come from it, they still find a way to say, well, you know what? I'm so sorry for what my ancestors did, but please don't blame me. I can't help that I was born this way. Again, still losing the plot.
Sinners just ultimately beat me over the head with that guilt.
How? See what I mean? See, what did I tell you? He starts off his so-called review talking very good and real colorful about it. And then he ends it off with this. Now he's saying that the movie Sinners beat him over the head with white guilt. How is that even possible? How? I don't get it. Right now, he's just rambling and babbling.
I don't usually find vampire movies all that scary, but for me, Sinners is psychological horror. After a while, I just wasn't sure I could take much more of it, as great as it was. But hey, Buddy Guy looming up on the screen out of nowhere in the end, that saved it for me. For that, Mr. Coogler, I thank you.
Okay, enough of that. So basically, Buddy Guy, blues icon and legend, showing up at the very tail end of the movie is what saved it for you, because after everything with the vampires that happened within the second act and second and third act of the movie, that is what bludgeoned you over the head with white guilt. Y'all, I cannot make this up. And it's funny too, because when I was looking at the comments, by the way, like I said, he broke this up into pieces. And the video at this time of me recording this video was at like 1,900 views. And mind you, he recorded the whole video maybe like 2 or 3 days ago. It was only like 50 comments under there. It was a mix between people saying, I appreciate what you said, Skip Bayless, to people saying, you completely misunderstood the movie. That was the combination of comments that I saw under this video. Now, I'm not going to go with the former, but I will go with the latter. He completely misunderstood and lost the plot completely. If this was his takeaway, Skip Bayless, if this was your takeaway of that movie, to come out and say that you were bludgeoned and battered with white guilt, then this movie wasn't for you at all. But I'm not surprised, because again, he's not the only white person to say something like that. Or person, period. Like I said, look at Jason Whitlock. Well, we know why he does it. But Skip, no, this definitely wasn't it whatsoever. But I'm gonna just go ahead and end it off with this.
Boy, if you don't get the fuck out my face.
Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.